I'm Darius Arya, and I'm off to explore three of the most amazing cities on the planet. Cairo, the gateway to Egypt's ancient wonders. Athens, the cradle of democracy. And in this program, Istanbul, a boisterous treasure trove of architectural genius.
For over 2,000 years, East has met West here in Istanbul, the strategic middle ground fought over and contested by some of the world's mightiest empires.
But many of its secret treasures are hidden, out of sight, or underground.
How deep is it?
Be careful.
Using the latest 3D imaging technology, our scanning team will help us see the city as no human eye ever could. Diving through layers of history to show how the city has had to reinvent itself over and over. As a professor of Roman history, I'm floored by the Hagia Sophia Cathedral and the drama of its Roman racetrack. I'll be using virtual reality to get to the heart of the city's hidden wonders.
This is Istanbul, as even the locals may never have seen it.
Welcome to Invisible Istanbul. Istanbul, Turkey. The meeting place of East and West. The bridge between Europe and Asia. And I'm arriving on the mighty waterway that put this city on the map. This is the Bosphorus. It runs north to the Black Sea, down south to the Mediterranean. Asia is on this side, Europe is on this side. Everything comes into focus right here. Now, over 2,500 years ago, this was a Greek town, Byzantium. Then it was renamed Constantinople, capital of the Roman Empire. Many considered it the center of the world. Perhaps Napoleon said it best: if the world were a single state, then Constantinople would be its capital. I love how the city's tempestuous past has created one of the most vibrant cities on Earth. This place has been built by Romans, rocked by earthquakes, sacked by Crusaders, and besieged by Ottomans. And you can see evidence of all of that all over the city. But there's also an invisible world hidden under the surface of modern Istanbul. And that's where the key to understanding this ancient city can be found. Even the most famous places have their surprises. The Hagia Sophia is Istanbul's most iconic building. It embodies the history of the entire city. It began life as a Christian cathedral built by the Romans. It was then converted into a mosque in the 15th century. And now it's a secular museum. Called Hagia Sophia in Turkish and Hagia Sophia in Greek, it means the Church of the Holy Wisdom of God. In its day, it was the largest religious building in the Christian world.
Our eyes are drawn up to the beauty and the size of the Great Dome. This is absolutely massive. It's 110 feet across. It's 180 feet above the marble pavement. It was the highest dome of the world. Can you imagine, to be a person living in 6th century Constantinople, how overwhelming that experience would have been, how its massive size dominated the entire city?
I'm blown away by this place. This 10th century gold mosaic shows the 2 Roman emperors responsible for the existence of the Hagia Sophia. This is Constantine the Great. He moved the imperial capital here from Rome in 324 when the empire was in turmoil. Thanks to his conversion to Christianity, it soon became the official religion of the entire empire. But it was this emperor, Justinian I, who built this cathedral in the 6th century. Its size and open spaces make it an astonishing piece of engineering for the time, and even today. Our scan team is using laser technology to reveal the genius of Justinian's engineers. By recording each location as data, we can analyze how it was built and changed over time. And this place has survived 1,500 years of earthquakes, riots, and wars.
Hey, Matt.
Darius.
Good, man.
Good to see you. You okay?
Nice to see you. Yeah, good one.
This is Tom.
Hi. Nice to meet you. So how's work? How's scanning?
Yep, scanning away. The laser is firing out over 1 million times a second there. So.
God. Now, I've got a question for you. I'm always wondered why this structure is actually still standing despite all the different things like earthquakes. Do you think the scan can tell us some of those answers?
That's the plan. So we'll scan from multiple positions around the whole building. By the time we finish that, we'll have over 1 billion points all tied together in this millimeter perfect 3D model.
Unbelievable. Now, I'm going to be going to, like a lot of other sites throughout Istanbul. You guys going to be doing the same thing?
Yep, we will scan every location with exactly the same technology. So we'll get all of these individual sites down to that level of millimeter precision.
Unbelievable. I can't wait to see the big thing, but if you don't mind, if I steal you away for just a minute, I'll show you something really on a micro scale, real gem of a detail.
Okay, fantastic.
Right over here. You know, Justinian spared no expense when he built this church. And I mean, he had 10,000 guys working to build it day in and day out. For example, maybe he used up to 40,000 pounds of silver to decorate it, to say nothing of the gold and the marble.
Yeah. The most expensive building in the world, I hear.
Absolutely. I mean, this thing, he said that this was more magnificent than Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. And we have a lot of stories, but here, let me show you a piece of history. I can step right down into it.
Okay.
And there's this weird little groove that you can see here.
Yeah.
What made this? Well, this is the Emperor's Gate. So one story that's told is that actually from all the years and all the centuries of all the guards that stood here wore this groove. And that's the neat thing, the mystery that we still have with this history. It's up to us to unravel it.
So, speaking of mysteries, I need to go and solve some. Let's get this scanning
take
done.
it easy.
Yeah.
See you later.
See you later. Take care.
Ciao.
I've always thought of the Hagia Sophia as a symbol of the city's ability to adapt and to survive.
For me, it's a powerful pivot point, still today, between East and West, religion and politics. I mean, it's been a church, a mosque. Today, it's a museum. It's an important mixture that embodies all the great history of this city.
To reveal the secrets of Istanbul's past, our scan team is creating a 3D map of the old city.
We're going to employ a process called photogrammetry, taking thousands and thousands of individual photographs. We pump all of those images in, and these are very clever algorithms, and then we're able to compute a really, really accurate 3D model of Istanbul.
When they add in the scans, we'll have a complete picture of how Constantinople was built and how it survived. I can't wait to see what the Hagia Sophia scans will show us.
Hey,
Darius, hi.
how's it going, Matt?
Very good. How
Good
are you,
to see
sir?
you. All right.
Take a seat.
This is the show.
Yeah, this is our photogrammetry. We have this 3D map of the extent of Constantinople, I guess.
Yeah.
And obviously, at the core of that is Hagia Sophia.
Beautiful.
So here it is. Just think of everything on screen here as digital dust.
Okay.
Yeah, it's millions and millions of individual points, and that means the laws of physics have kind of stopped applying for us. So we can just zoom on in here, straight through the ceiling, and we're inside.
Incredible. You can get any perspective you want, even from beneath the surface of the floor.
Exactly, yeah. Our eyes are always drawn up to the central feature of this space, which is, of course, the dome.
Yeah.
So there it is. And it's here that we started to notice the first kind of slightly strange things that we weren't picking up on. So this dome, this seemingly perfect spherical structure, actually is not a perfect circle down the bottom here. So you see, as you take this circle around the edge here, it's got quite a lot of deformations.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of kinks. There's a flattening off. There's this really quite substantial dink into the side of it here.
Yeah.
And there's one place where these anomalies are actually really, really quite clear. I'm just going to strip off the outside. So what we're left with here is, I mean, look
Quite
at that lump.
deformed, my God. That is incredible. You can't do that in real life. You don't have X-ray vision.
Yeah, no. So,
incredible.
I mean, we've literally skinned the building here. We're just left with this inside surface.
Yeah.
And that is a major lump.
It's like it's gotten bashed in a bad fight or something.
Yeah, well, you say a fight, I mean, it's this earthquake shaking this thing, and, you know, this dome first collapsed 26 years after it was completed.
Right.
Rebuilt, repaired, patched up over the centuries.
Of course, there's just got to be so much weight, right, from the dome all the way down being transferred.
Yeah, those ribs are transferring the load from that dome down past these windows onto this circular area here. But that's not where it ends. That then comes down to these triangular features. There's 4 of these, and they are the pendentives. These pendentives take the load from a circular position down into a square. So each pendentive leads to an enormous column that transfers the load down to the ground.
And each one has an angel on it, so that's like the angels are supporting the dome of heaven up above.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to put us a slice right the way through the middle
Nice.
of the building there. But still, this enormous pressure pushing down and outwards. So we can start to see some of the solutions that stop the building from splaying out there. And that's this whole series of buttresses that turn this almost into a mountain.
It really has revealed why the Hagia Sophia is still standing. Sometimes rebuilt, buttressed, changed, and adapted over time to survive.
Good morning.
Hi.
When Emperor Constantine built this city, he wanted to outdo Rome itself.
Thank you.
He built public baths, aqueducts, a library, marketplaces, and palaces.
Hey, bye.
The population soared from 20,000 to 200,000. The emperor also had big plans for the city's racetrack, the Hippodrome.
Great public places were ways to attract rich and poor alike. And back in the day, this was the most popular attraction in the entire city.
Today, this space is a park and a school. But our graphic shows how the Hippodrome once dominated the heart of ancient Constantinople. This immense structure held twice as many spectators as Rome's Colosseum or Yankee Stadium.
Hello, Karim, how are you?
Hi, Darius.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Professor Kerem Eltug is an expert on the Hippodrome.
Will be fantastic.
So, if the starting block's over there, where's the actual racetrack?
The racing track was the road running around today's square. It's perfectly follow the line of chariot racing track.
Perfect. That's amazing. So if we go back in time, we're right in the line of fire. It's not where you want to be. And then screaming fans are up in the stands, How many?
Some say 100,000.
So that's a big part of the population here, watching the chariot races, watching someone race to victory or crash and burn and die. So there's a lot of drama that's here.
Yes,
People
you're
that are
right.
pushing in the stands. It's just like any Roman city, like Rome, like the Circus Maximus.
Exactly.
It's intense.
Exactly. And now I've got something even cooler to show you in the underground.
Oh, lead the way. That sounds great.
Yeah, let's go.
Amazing. This is just so enormous.
Yes. I'm gonna show you the archways forming the entrance and exits of the hippodrome, now walled up.
Oh, yeah.
And now we are going to the foundations.
That's a little door.
Yeah. We have a lock here.
Doesn't look like it's too frequently visited.
No.
Wow. Now this is really interesting. You've got all these massive foundations. What was this place?
This is the substructure of the seating.
Ah, okay. So the hippodrome's above, and this is what's supporting all those stands. Now, what about, I see some other holes and passageways. What about over there?
Yeah, there are a lot of them, but I don't want you to get lost down there, so
Okay.
you better follow me.
All right, you're the boss. What was this place right here?
These are the passageways, but some say it is also used as a prison or for the executions.
What about down here? Does it continue? What is it?
Let's take a look inside.
Should I go?
Go on, why not?
All right. Okay. I think we're gonna need a little more equipment. I think we're gonna need some better lights. Slipping into something a little more comfortable. Shimmy, shimmy. Not exactly what I expected I was gonna do today. All right, kid, I'm ready to go.
All right.
Let's do this.
All right, do it.
Wow, this is incredible staircase here. How deep is it?
Be careful.
Whoa, this place is huge.
This vaulted chamber converted into a cistern, probably in the 6th century.
This improvised water tank is over 30 feet high and could hold over 2.5 million gallons of water.
So this is one of the largest covered cisterns of Constantinople. There he is.
And I'm actually getting stuck in mud and water,
be careful.
which is, thank you. It still holds the water, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What about over there? Can we check that out?
Be careful.
Yeah.
So you can see how the walls are plastered with waterproof hydraulic mortar.
Yeah, amazing.
Please,
I mean,
it shows us this is the cistern.
and obviously it still works because we're walking in a place that's filled with water and mud and God knows what else.
Yes. You can also see how the hydraulic plaster ends.
Yeah.
Thus, this indicates the maximum storage level of the cistern.
Pretty big capacity here. Pretty impressive.
Constantinople had few natural sources of fresh water. Concealed beneath the hippodrome's seating, these abandoned passageways were converted into water storage tanks. Ingenious. For over 1,000 years, this was the city's insurance against drought, fire, and siege.
So this is one really impressive cistern. It surely couldn't be the only one, though.
Yeah, we are able to identify more than 200 cisterns in the historical peninsula.
This place is simply amazing. You know, thanks so much for bringing me here, because I can't believe that something that was created as a hippodrome in the 4th century, you showed me that it's been converted into a cistern in the 6th century, and then we're standing right here today in the 21st century.
Yes, this is one of the hidden treasures of the city.
Thanks to our scan team, we can now see how the hippodrome was adapted to the changing needs of the city. This vast structure entertained the first citizens of Constantinople, and later as a cistern. It kept them alive by storing precious water for 1,000 years. Now, this reservoir is all but forgotten, except to those who know invisible Istanbul. The Bosphorus has always provided unrivaled transport and trade routes that allow this city to thrive. But finding fresh water has always been a problem.
Was in 2012.
Professor of Art History at Istanbul University, Feridun Özgümüş, has promised to show me how fresh water took on a sacred significance in the ancient city.
Something important in this carpet shop.
I'm intrigued to find that our journey begins in this carpet shop.
There was an old building stood here once. And when they demolished the old building to construct the present one in 2002, they unearthed by coincidence.
So it's like a
ruins of
recent discovery. I mean, it's just like
almost
the other day.
15 years almost, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going down pretty deep here in the basement.
Yes. The first part is a travel company here, and from here to a kitchen section of the modern building, and deeper again.
Oh, and it just keeps on continuing down.
Yes.
Oh, this is
That's
getting
the most
pretty deep.
interesting part of it.
All right.
Be careful, please.
Oh, thanks. All right. So what is this? Is this
It's
it?
a mosaic floor.
Ah, very impressive.
Beautiful mosaic floor.
Yeah, the big portion of it too. Now,
Yes.
what is this part of? What was it?
It's a pavement of a church. It once stood here. This is from the late 7th century.
Our photogrammetry shows a layer cake of civilizations, with today's carpet shop sitting right above the Great Palace of Constantinople. And there's another hidden level below that.
All Eastern Orthodox churches have a special section.
Okay.
Another part of the building.
Okay. Ah, and we're going to go down further for
Yes,
this.
yes.
Amazing. Wow. Now this is impressive. Actually lower than the level of the church.
Yes. And this is the part of the church below the floor level of the church, original Byzantine. But what I want to show you particularly is
All right, something else.
something else. The reason why we are here to show you this.
Ah.
And you see the water still coming from
Yeah.
the earth and it's still running. And it seems maybe fresh water.
So this is a spring. That I would not expect underneath the church.
All Eastern Orthodox churches have holy springs, which is called agiasma, and this is the agiasma of the church once stood over it. And if you look at the...
Oh yeah, right down there. What is that
That
there?
is the image of Virgin Mary,
Okay.
and this is from the 14th century. Over her head is writing, was badly damaged. Like
But it looks like Greek.
it's Greek.
Okay.
All holy springs in Byzantium. They had a kind of writing phrase, a religious phrase, which reads Nipson in Greek, Nipson anamimata mivananopsin. That means water, that water not only washes your face, but also cleans your sins away.
So for a very long time then, people are coming to this church, coming down below here, and they're able to potentially purify themselves
Yes.
before they're, you know...
Spiritually purify themselves by drinking that water, but also they believed that that water had healing power.
That's fascinating because this was a precious commodity. This was not a city of water. So this is a real rarity to have a spring that still flows even today.
Yes, we have only 3 Byzantine holy springs in Istanbul, ancient Constantinople, and this is one of them. Very rare.
Our scans show how Istanbul is built on layer upon layer of history, with only a tiny trickle of fresh water deep in the foundations of the city. But if Constantinople was to grow, its people would need the miracle of Roman hydraulic engineering.
One of the most magnificent places to observe some of that hydraulic engineering is not underground, but rather while just sitting here, sipping a tea, or chai as they call it, if you're underneath an aqueduct. This is the Valens Aqueduct. It's the city's major water supply in Roman times. It's over 100 feet high and over half a mile long, and the water channel descends on top into the city. It was a masterful engineering feat, and today it still dominates the city landscape.
Our scanning team is already at work on this mighty aqueduct bridge. It was completed by Emperor Valens in the late 4th century. The western half of the Roman Empire was in decline, but Constantinople was still on a building spree.
This is just one of 30 such bridges, part of a vast and complex system of water channels and underground piping, bringing water to the heart of the city. I think it's one of the greatest engineering and surveying feats of the entire ancient world.
Hi, Darius, coming up.
All right.
The man to tell us about it is Professor James Crow from Edinburgh University.
It's a big ladder, man.
Yep, just keep on holding.
Oof,
He's running a research project to map that water supply
All right, don't let
system,
go.
the crucial structure in keeping the city alive.
Woo. Nice, great view. And sunny.
Yep.
So, Jim, how did you and your team figure out all of this complicated system?
Well, we knew, it was known there were sources outside of the city, but they'd never been properly mapped before. So we set about sort of creating maps, finding out more evidence for where the bridges and channels were. It's a deeply forested area, so it's not laid out in front of you. So you really have to work hard. You have to find some traces and then join the dots in many instances.
So much of Constantinople is colossal. I mean, the Hagia Sophia, the Hippodrome, and now this. This must have carried a lot of water.
Yes, this huge bridge, nearly a kilometre long, has 2 channels in it.
Unbelievable.
One we know about is probably as tall as you and this wide. And this brought water for over 150 kilometres in a direct line with the springs. But in total length, probably exceeding 300 kilometres.
Amazing. I'm a Roman guy, so don't tell me it's better than Rome.
It's different to Rome, but in some ways it exceeds Rome in terms of the length of the channels and the way that the channels had to cut through really difficult countryside. So it's a real engineering achievement in the way much more than Rome is.
Our scans reveal that the water flowed through 2 great channels inside the aqueduct bridge. Jim's research confirms that the water was then directed into cisterns across the city, 209 of them. Some small, some improvised like the one in the Hippodrome, and some purpose-built and as big as a football field. They were fed by 2 supply lines coming all the way from Forest Springs up to 125 miles away. Altogether, there were over 360 miles of channels in the longest and most sophisticated water system of the ancient world. Aqueduct bridges like this were essential to Constantinople's growth into one of the greatest cities in history. The city's success inevitably attracted envy and enemies. Today, people drive past walls like this and think nothing of it. But it was once a beautiful palace.
This overgrown mess is the Palace Bucaleon. It was once part of the great palace of Constantinople. Now, when it was built in the 5th century, the sea came right up and crashed against these walls. We're told that there were 500 rooms covered in golden mosaics, but all that's left of its faded glory are these few marble window frames.
I've been told that you can get into the palace through here.
A garden.
When this palace was built, Constantinople was said to possess 2/3 of the world's wealth. The remains of the Bucaleon Palace are a melancholy reminder of the city's lost glory.
This is major architecture. The scale is huge. And of course, it just must have been some sort of a stateroom. The walls would have been lined with marble. You can imagine mosaic floors, painted vaults, and of course, in antiquity, it's right on the water's edge. What a spectacular view you would have had. Still pretty spectacular today.
Our graphic gives us just an idea of the grandeur and scale of this magnificent palace. So far, our scan team has recorded ruins that tell the story of the rise of Constantinople. Here the ruins tell us about its decline. And the people who caused the destruction here were Western Christians. Rome and Constantinople were at the center of a dispute over religious doctrine in 1054. From that point, crusaders from the West saw the people here as Eastern heretics.
This was once a chapel, covered in gleaming, resplendent marble. But it's all charred black from fire. Today, this is a refuge for the homeless. But the real destruction took place over 800 years ago, when in 1204, this city was sacked by Western European crusaders. They pillaged, they trashed this palace and this city. Constantinople was on the ropes.
The Western invaders occupied Constantinople for 57 years. They desecrated Eastern Orthodox churches, burned down the library, and looted the palaces.
By the 15th century, the population of Constantinople had plummeted like a stone, down to 70,000 tops.
The Roman Empire, the greatest power the world had ever seen, had now shrunk to this single city. Those who remained soldiered on, growing their own food, surviving the best they could.
With the city's cisterns for collecting water and agricultural land for raising crops within the city walls, the city was virtually self-sufficient within a ring of stone. The tradition continues today. The people of Istanbul still raise vegetable crops in the moat and in the area between the city walls.
Constantinople stood alone, and the East was rising. The Muslim Ottoman Empire had the Christian city completely surrounded. By 1453, the only way supplies could reach the city was by ship. And the Ottoman leader, Sultan Mehmet, was about to increase the pressure. He built this huge fortress to lay siege to the city. It's on the European side of the Bosphorus at its narrowest point. Less than 800 yards from Mehmet's fort on the Asian side.
The name of this stronghold, Rumeli Hisarı, literally means fortress of the Romans. Now let's think about that for a second, because the year was 1453. Not even 50 years later, Columbus discovered America, and still Constantinople was the capital of the Roman Empire. The original name is even better, Ouaskasan Castle, literally throat cutter, because we're at the choke point here at the Bosphorus, and it was meant to cut the throat of the Bosphorus, and it worked. When a Venetian ship sailed right out front and ignored the warnings from the fort, a single cannon was fired from one of the towers, hitting the ship. The crew was taken off and beheaded. And the captain, well, he was impaled, and his cadaver was hung out front like a scarecrow as a warning to all others. Mehmet didn't want any assistance to get to the city.
But Constantinople had a final line of defense. An iron chain laid across its harbor inlet, the Golden Horn. Mehmet's ships couldn't get past it to attack.
But Mehmet had a brilliant solution. He ordered the construction of a road made of logs heavily greased around the chain barrier. Then on April 22nd, 1453, he ordered his troops to drag the ships off the water on the road around the chain barrier and into the estuary. Now the city's 5,000 defenders were entirely surrounded and trapped in a siege of bombardment and starvation. Despite this, despite being surrounded by 200,000 enemy troops, Constantinople still resisted.
The main tower of the Rumeli Hisarı fortress was a strategic command post for Mehmet's whole operation. Its secrets are locked away, but we're getting to see them.
So we take a look?
Yes. With local historian Ali Zirek.
It's kind of dark and spooky.
Yeah. Wasn't expecting to find one of the most important artifacts in the history of the city just lying on the floor.
Is this the chain that Constantinople used to stop Mehmet?
Yes.
That's incredible. I mean, this is the real chain. This is the real thing.
Very strong.
Very strong. And it's rusty, but I mean, it's hundreds of years old, it's still intact. It's very heavy.
I'm really curious to find out what else Ali wants to show me. And he's taking me up all the way to the top floor.
Wow. This is an amazing space. What happened here?
Sultan Mehmet met his generals here.
Oh, so it's like a council chamber. It's unbelievable. I'm thinking about the decisions that he made in this castle, maybe even in this very room. I mean, this is where history happened. I think it really kind of get a sense of that. You can almost smell it.
Mehmet's fortresses were among the most advanced of their time. Our scans allow us to really get under the skin of this tower. They reveal a 7-story weapon of ruthless efficiency, with walls up to 23 feet thick that protect Mehmet's council chamber. Crenellated lookout positions, arrow slits and firing positions, toilets, grain storage, living quarters for 400 soldiers, a water cistern, of course, a chute to drop boiling oil onto an invader at the front door, and an unrivaled view to guard the narrowest part of the Bosphorus. On April 6, 1453, the Sultan launched a 53-day siege of constant bombardment. And he was using the biggest cannons in the world.
Mehmet concentrated his efforts on a section of old wall in the northwestern part of the city. And he hammered with his cannons that section relentlessly until eventually a part of the wall collapsed. Now the defenders defended themselves valiantly, but they were no match for the Sultan's elite troops, the Janissaries. And with the prospect of the horrors that would follow, many of the city's inhabitants decided to commit suicide jumping from the city walls.
The pillaging and looting went on for 3 days. The legend goes that instead of letting their enemies get the loot, the people of Constantinople threw so much of their wealth into the Golden Horn that the waters sparkled with gold. The invaders closed in on the Hagia Sophia. They smashed down the door and burst in on the city's women, children, old and injured. The last citizens of Constantinople were raped, slaughtered, and enslaved. Mehmet himself lamented the devastation he had caused, saying, "What a city we have given over to plunder and destruction."
This was the final fall of the Roman Empire. The people we know as the Byzantines were finished. Constantinople was no longer a Christian capital. It became Muslim Istanbul, Mehmed's capital of the Ottoman Empire. The East now held sway.
The best place to see how the city changed is back at the Hagia Sophia. From that day, the cathedral became a mosque. Over time, the 4 minarets were added and the mosaic crosses were decorated to disguise them. 8 enormous panels were erected much later, spelling out the name of Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, his grandsons, and the 4 caliphs. To this day, they are the largest in the Muslim world.
There are lots of Islamic additions. Case in point is this recessed niche right here. It's off-center from the apse, it's off-center from the whole church. But there's a reason for that. It's the mihrab, and it indicates Mecca, and that is the direction that Muslims pray.
Sultan Mehmet became known as Fatih, the conqueror. But he was also a builder. He repaired the water supply, rebuilt the city walls, and established one of the greatest economic centers of its time, the Grand Bazaar.
Hi. How you doing? Good. Yeah, these are very nice.
Within 2 centuries, the population rebounded from 70,000 to 700,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
As the Ottoman Empire grew, so did the bazaar. Today it has over 4,000 shops on 61 covered streets, visited by up to 400,000 shoppers in a single day. The Grand Bazaar became the center of Istanbul's wealth, and Istanbul became the center of the Ottoman Empire. It must have felt like the center of the world.
Thank you.
Geliyorum ben şimdi.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Islamic and Turkish cultures certainly have added to what the Romans and the Christians had established. Turkish cuisine is famous for a rich variety of ingredients, but sometimes you just want something simple. You want a balık ekmek, a fish sandwich. And the best place to have it in Istanbul is in the Minanu, right here at the Galata Bridge. And certainly eating this at the Golden Horn amidst all of this history adds to the flavor.
But not everywhere in Istanbul is so hectic. Islands of peace can still be found in the old city. like this mosque, just north of the Grand Bazaar.
This is so peaceful. It's hard to believe that I'm in the midst of a teeming city of 15 million. But this place gives you a sense of calm, tranquility. I see community. It's about being with yourself. It's about having an opportunity to meditate on many things before going forward to prayer. And this is an amazing opportunity to start that reflection.
A century after Sultan Mehmet, his successor, Suleiman the Magnificent, had a new mosque built in 1557 to outdo anything that had come before it, the Süleymaniye Mosque. Inspired by the grandeur of the Hagia Sophia, this mosque is the epitome of the Ottoman Empire's golden age. The genius of the mosque is found in its grand design and its smallest details. Much is invisible, but not to my guide, architectural historian Olcay Aydemir.
Wow. This is spectacular. I mean, there's so much light, there's so much space. Just an incredible volume. It's just so massive, it's so tall.
You feel good, comfortable at the same time. You know the heightness, but you don't feel. You want to stay here. It's a very magic thing to create this.
Though inspired by the Hagia Sophia, Suleiman's mosque had innovations of its own.
So I'm looking at the illumination here, and of course, I mean, this is electric, but what was it like in the 16th century?
Yes, there was oil lamps in the century.
Now I see, interspersed between these electric lights, I mean, there's some sort of suspended ball or egg-like thing.
It's
What is
ostrich shell.
Ostrich shells, okay. And is that intentional as well, or is that something from...
It has a function. It has a function to drive away the insects and the spiders.
Okay. It's very beautiful and eco-friendly.
Yes.
So technology, sustainability, incredible architecture, incredible design.
Yes,
it's so impressive.
Yes.
But there's more. Our scans reveal an invisible ventilation system hidden in the walls. It drew up the soot from the lamps through hidden funnels leading into a secret room. The soot was scraped off the walls to make black ink for precious manuscripts. Today, only graffiti remains. Sultan Suleiman wanted his mosque to be a social welfare complex. A hospital was built, 6 schools, Turkish baths, a traveler's inn, a bakery, a medical college, and a public kitchen for the poor. In the 19th century, there was even a place called Addicts Alley, where cafes sold hashish and opium, though I doubt if that was part of Suleiman's plan. This is the mosque's public kitchen, or imaret. It fed over 1,000 of the city's poor every day in a way that allowed people to keep their anonymity and their dignity.
Here, the person who gives the meal and who take the meal doesn't see each other. So it's a small hole. It means that he can't play favorites.
Very nice. So I can take this anonymously as well?
Yes, of course, please.
Thank you. Buon appetito.
This was a sultan's mosque meant for everyone. Suleiman's kitchen was designed to feed Muslims, Christians, and Jews alike. Today, it's a commercial restaurant in this modern city. I've been invited by Matt to go back to the old city. But this time, I'm going to experience it in a whole new way.
So
The scan team are eager to show me how the city comes alive in virtual reality.
Cool, I've never seen...
it doesn't look like much now, but this little backdrop here, together with this headset, this is your portal into our digital model of Istanbul. There you go.
Wow. This is amazing.
So this is the whole peninsula.
Beautiful. And right down there, that's the curve of the Hippodrome. That's right where we went into the cisterns. Ah. Whoa, that's right where we entered. Ha! And down the stairs. Oh, look at that corridor. Ha! I just can't smell it, but otherwise it's like I'm there. I can get underneath it too.
Yep, worm's eye view.
Oh, man. And now, now I'm just walking right over top the entire Hippodrome towards the Hagia Sophia. My.
So you're free to drop your head inside.
Whoa. There's everything inside. Oof. The space is incredible here. I see all these little outlines of people, children, adults, just in motion.
These are the ghosts of the tourists that were there on that day.
Okay.
They're all moving around a little bit quicker than we can scan them.
Okay.
And we can actually start to go and inspect this building a little more thoroughly.
Okay. Oof, going up the elevator. Oh, slow down. Yeah, you get a little vertigo here. Wow. Really fast. Wait, okay, we're going through the dome? All right. Okay. Whoa.
So here we are.
Wow. I'm gonna need to take your hand here. It's really disorienting, though. You feel like you could just fall right through.
And check out, the lumps that we saw previously, they've become this kind of golf course of mounds around us.
My God, yeah. Get up and back down again. Okay, whoop.
The VR makes me really appreciate what an extraordinary feat of engineering the Hagia Sophia is.
Oh, we're coming down.
It's like this whole city and its people. They've been knocked around, but they've always found ways to survive. They've adapted buildings like the Hippodrome to stay alive through drought and war. And kept fresh water flowing to everyone through their elegant aqueducts. This is a city that is built upon its layers of history and culture. As the battered dome of the Hagia Sophia reminds us, the people of Istanbul have fought both armies and earthquakes to preserve their city against all the odds. This ancient city has been the fulcrum of the world for 2 millennia. And in the 21st century, the tug of war between East and West remains as intense as ever.
Turkey is rising in prominence in international politics and looking to strengthen its Islamic ties, looking to the past, the Ottoman Empire, for inspiration. All eyes are focusing once again on the city at the center of the world.
And if you'd like to explore the Hagia Sophia for yourself in 3D, visit pbs.org/Ancient Invisible Cities.
Ancient Invisible Cities is available on DVD. To order, visit Shop PBS or call 1-800-PLAY-PBS. This program is also available on Amazon Prime Video.